is one of the most watched animes, and I have just got done finished watching the first half of One Piece, so I'm 50% of the way through my journey, and so I have just watched what is known as Pre-Timeskip, and I thought today we could rank all of the Pre-Timeskip arcs. So if you haven't guessed already, there will be spoilers in this video, so if you are also on your One Piece journey and haven't quite caught up to Post-Timeskip, then do not watch this video, because I will probably go into spoiler territory talking about each arc as I rank them. So just a fair warning for you guys out there. And I also want to give another, reasoning. So from arcs Romance Dawn to Arlong Park, I will actually be ranking these based from the live action, because that's what actually got me into One Piece, and so I started continuing the anime after where the live action finished off. So I know that may annoy some people, and understandably, I haven't actually seen the anime episodes from Romance Dawn to Arlong Park, but I know the story, so that may upset some people, understandably, but I kind of wanted to make my One Piece journey, sort of as quick as possible. Not that I want to get through it quickly, but I didn't see any point rewatching the anime episodes if I literally just watched the live action and I already knew the story. So, I just felt rather save myself some time and, pick the anime up from Loguetown or Loguetown, however you pronounce it. So yeah, these first couple of arcs will be ranked from the live action, so my ranking may differ slightly to an anime ranking if I did actually watch it through the anime. But anyways, enough preamble, let's actually get into the ranking. So if you do enjoy this type of content and you want to stick around for more, please like the video and subscribe so you can get notified whenever I do upload, and you will have to hit that bell icon. I hate saying that stuff, so let's just move on. Okay, so Romance Dawn, where it all began. Now, I do like this arc in the anime. In the live action, it takes up one episode, and we get introduced to our first three main characters, and of course we do get introduced to Shanks. I think is a great entryway into the series and these characters. There's a lot to like. Luffy's goofiness, his backstory with Shanks, I really do enjoy, and the whole breakout from the Marine Fortress I find really, really fun. Overall, I do think this is a really solid arc, and oh god, it's a bit laggy, there we are. So I think a good place to put it in is B. There's nothing exceptional about it, but I do think you have to give Romance Dawn a lot of respect for setting off and starting off the series. And then moving on to Orange Town. Now in the live action, not a whole lot actually happens in Orange Town. Again, I don't know how this differs from the anime, but in Orange Town, the gang just sort of get captured. And that's about it. But that being said, I think Buggy is an exceptional character, and he makes Orange Town, the episode, so much fun to watch. I do enjoy the episode, I really do, but if you think about the arc as a whole, not a whole lot happens. Yes, it gives us, I think, one of the best characters, Buggy, but ranking as a whole and standing up to other arcs, it doesn't quite showcase as much, I don't think so. I think C placement is a good placement for the arc itself. Buggy, as an introduction for Buggy, is like an A tier at least for the character, but overall I think it's a C tier. Okay, and then Syrup Village. Now this is probably my least favourite part of the live action, and it is spread across two episodes, and I think I'm not the biggest fan of the villains, the Black Cat pirates or something like that. I don't even remember their pirate names. They're just not the most entertaining, and their sort of motivation isn't really, I don't really care about their motivation, it's kind of stupid. Like, they're pirates, but they want to own a business. Okay, they take over a business, sure, do what you want to do. And the pace I can't even remember his name. I think it begins with like a K or a C or something like that. Yeah, the battle between him and Luffy, not the best. So again, I do think this is either going to be D or C. I mean, it's watchable. I do enjoy it still. I did say it's my least favourite part of the live action, but it's still very watchable, and it gives us an introduction to Usopp as well. A fantastic character. But it does go on a little bit too long, and it doesn't really add a whole lot apart from just adding Usopp. I don't dislike it, we'll give it a C. I think C is a fairly good placement, and we will rank them in the individual ranks. Will I have Orange Town over Syrup Village? Yeah, I'll have Orange Town over Syrup Village. Okay, and now we move on to Baratie, or Baratie. Yeah, Baratie. Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. This is actually my favourite part of the One Piece live action. I absolutely love this arc and the introduction to Sanji, and the pirates. What's Seb's pirates called? Red. Something to do with like a red foot or something. I read that. So, I've completely forgotten so much about so many details. Like, it's been a while. I've gone through a lot of episodes. I'm going to forget about a lot of things, but I remember absolutely just loving this arc, and it kind of solidified my enjoyment. I guess it kind of solidified, like, okay, I actually want to watch this series. I want to finish it, and I don't know why Baratie exclusively solidified this, but it just did for me. Great characters, Mihawk versus Zoro, fantastic introduction to Arlong as well in this arc. Sanji's backstory as well was great. I mean, it was a little bit slower paced, but it was good. All of it was really, really solid. So I think I have to give Baratie an A tier. Okay, now moving on to Arlong Park, and this is where people say is sort of the turning point in One Piece. Is the point where people really do become fans of this series, and for very, very good reason. It gives us the high stakes so far. It gives us such deep character development with Nami and Luffy and their relationship, and it sort of sets the theme that we kind of see continue with other arcs, with the villain and their motivations, and the Straw Hats trying to basically save an island. So yeah, Arlong, really like the villain. Really good motivation compared to like the villains in Syrup Village. Like Arlong, his reasoning for what he's doing is good. Not that his actions are good, but it makes for him to be a good villain. And yeah, the whole Nami scene, the help me scene, Luffy put the straw hat on her. It's all just fantastic and it's beautiful, really. So I thoroughly enjoyed this arc, and so I definitely think it belongs in the A tier. I know a lot of people have this in the SD, or as I had it here, the Goda, the Goda tier, the Goda tier. For me, it doesn't quite reach the Goda tier. Like I said, I prefer Baratie over Arlong Park, but it's very close. Okay, now on to Loguetown. Now, so this was actually where I started watching the anime, and I love this arc mainly because it's the first the first part of the anime that I actually watched. But for me, I always think about this arc as one of my, I guess, favourites. I love how each episode we kind of get each character kind of gets their own story and their own reasoning to set out on this journey with Luffy, and we kind of get into more depth. It really sets some good character stories and development. There was some filler content, so things away from the manga but are canon to the anime. I think, namely with Usopp and Sanji, but still, their episodes were really, really enjoyable. And then, of course, Luffy and Buggy at the top of the execution tower. Fantastic. these two better than Arlong Park. I know, call me crazy. It's a short and sweet arc as well, which I can appreciate. It wasn't dragged out. And yeah, I think it's a beautiful sort of beginning for their adventure into the Grand Line. But once we get into Grand Line, we come across the first mountain, which granted is only like 2 episodes, so it's kind of at a disadvantage where it can't really stack up to these other arcs. Pardon me, it can't really stack up to these other arcs as well, and it's kind of just it introduces us to what's the world called? Baloo? No, it's not Balloon. It's called I forgot what the word is called. Pardon me, that is terrible knowledge. What is the word called? It begins with a B, surely. I can't remember. Anyways, I like the whale. Whale's cool. D2. Like, there's not a whole lot to do with reverse mounting. Sure, sets up some things later on the line with Brooke and Thriller Bark, but I'm not the biggest fan of Thriller Bark, as we'll get to. So for me, reverse mountain, D2. And then Whiskey Peak, for me, a rather forgettable arc. I remember them arriving, them being, trapped, or it was like trapped basically. And then Zoro going on this killing spree, pretty much, and then Luffy and Zoro fighting for literally no reason. For me, it's a pretty forgettable arc, one that I don't think anyone's like, oh yeah, Whiskey Peak, that's, do you remember this happening, blah blah blah. It's a pretty so-so arc, so for me this is either going to be C or D, and I think I'm leaning to, I don't know why my PC's struggling so much, I'm leaning towards D, but above reverse mountain. It gives us an introduction to Vivi, but it's Vivi acting as someone else, so I feel like we get a better introduction to Vivi later on in the series, if that makes sense. So we do get introduced to the other lot of the gang, part of Crocodile's gang. I can't actually remember what their Baroque Works, that's what the gang is called. It does give us an introduction to Baroque Works, which is pretty cool, but again, I feel like Little Garden does that a little bit better. So for me, Whiskey Peak, D2. And so moving on to Little Garden, I think this is a great arc. It's pretty underrated in my opinion. Really love Mr. 3, a fantastic villain. I cannot wait to see him in the live action. Who they've got to play him is such a fantastic actor. So I think he's going to bring so much to the table, and I just really like this arc as I think a really fun first adventure that they go on. Sure, they have Reverse Mountain and Whiskey Peak beforehand, but the first proper adventure is Little Garden. I think it's just a fun adventure. Mr. 3 and then Zoro posing in the wax. Just a fun arc. And then after Little Garden, we have Drum Island. And this was actually the first time I cried One Piece. Chopper's backstory, you'll find it hard not to cry, I think, at Drum Island. Such a heartfelt, heartwarming arc. Aside from Chopper's backstory, I guess there's not too much else to go on. Like the villain, pretty weak villain. Hopefully they do him justice in the live action and make his character a little bit better. Like, I get he's supposed to be this annoying, just a character that you just hate, and maybe that, that's just the whole point of his character, and, so Oda did a good job of that. I think again this is another solid B tier, and I do think this is above Little Garden. Is it above Romance Store? Yeah, sure, why not? It made me cry. If an arc makes me cry, it's got to be, high at least. Is it going to be an A tier? I don't think so, just because I do remember his like dedication for his crew. I mean, it has in the past, but they really do feel it and grasp it. So Drum Island for me, IP tier, and then Alabasta for me. This is the first S tier arc, our first Coda tier. Alabasta, wow, what an arc. Sure, it starts out a little bit slow when they're traversing the desert, but to be honest, I don't actually mind that. I found that quite enjoyable. It introduced us to Ace, Luffy's brother. Yeah, I think this is great. The whole Mr. Prince as well with Sanji, Crocodile, one of the best villains. Absolutely love Crocodile. That iconic laugh, so good. Smoker chasing them down and then actually letting them go, and then the whole fight actually with Baroque works. Fantastic, absolutely sublime. And then Vivi crying out at the clock tower. Is it a clock tower? Would she cry out somewhere else? No, I think it's a clock tower. I think everything about this arc is just perfect. Luffy being defeated for the first time by a crocodile, not just once, but it was like 3 times or something crazy. So I think this is the first arc where you can actually feel the weight and like the stakes. Sure, you can feel it in Arlong Park, but you kind of know that Luffy's not going to be defeated. But with Alabasta, it's kind of like, oh, how are they actually going to go about this? Like, this is crazy. Oh, and how could I forget Bonglei. What Bonjan? Is that Bonglei? Wait, it is Bonglei, right? Yes, Mr. Do. One of my favourite characters who I was so happy to see actually return in Impel Down. One of the best characters. Absolutely love him. I cannot wait to see who plays him. They've been keeping his casting hidden along with Vivi and Robin, of course. Oh, of course, how can I forget? It gives us the introduction to Robin as well. A sly, sort of cunning, mysterious character. Technically, she's first introduced in Whiskey Peak, but here we really do see her in force and action. And then, my favourite moment ever in the series happens in Alabasta, the Fist X scene. Pause, that sounds a bit wrong. It's when the whole of the crew put up their hands because they can't say bye to Vivi because then she knows she's an accomplice. So they have to say bye silently. So they all have like a tattoo on their arm of an X and they hold up their fist, and it's beautiful. I cried heavily a lot at that scene. It gets me every time. And I just, such a fantastic arc. And yeah, definitely S-tier in my opinion. And then we move on to Jaya, which is not my favourite. It has improved as the series has gone on, like with the introduction of Blackbeard and Doflamingo's gang as well. Whilst watching it, I didn't really care for it. Like, these were just some random characters. I think overall I had 1 or 2 episodes that I liked. There's like a meeting with the elites and some of the warlords. That was my favourite episode in the series. And of course, Luffy just decking that really annoying character, Bellamy, his name might be. That was really satisfying. That was really good. But apart from that, there's not a whole lot to enjoy with Jaya. And of course, it does progressively get better the more you watch Skypiea. But it's an arc that I kind of found a little bit annoying when first watching. So when I first watched it, it was a D. But I guess as the series has gone on and improved, it has got better with more meaningful characters and sort of, you can kind of respect the setup that the arc does. So I think now it has gone up to a C, whereas before it would have been a D, but it is a pretty low C in my opinion. And now we actually get onto Skypiea, a pretty controversial arc, I would say. I think it's the biggest discourse about this arc is whether to skip or not to skip. I don't see this discussion as much with a lot of other arcs discourse of like, you can just skip it, it doesn't add a whole lot to the story. And where I'm at now, Skypiea has offered little to nothing in terms of, you know, world building or foreshadow, or I know it does later on. I understand that as the series progressed, Skypiea has offered, you know, greater value, but I'm not at that part yet, so I do understand that there will be payoff later on, but for now, Skypiea is enjoyable. It's not one of my favourites. The first half of this arc dragged heavily, insatiably. It was kind of hard to get through at some points, but as the momentum started to go, it did get better, admittedly. I'm not as high on the Enel fight as a lot of people. I think it's alright. Not my favourite. It was really funny. Seeing his face though, the Enel face, the reaction to Luffy's ability, you know, his counter, that was really good. That was really enjoyable, but it was only short-lived after, you know, Enel did defeat him. It has just started to rain really heavily. There's a bit of a storm right now, so apologies if you can hear that. You probably can, because it is raining a lot. But granted, it does have, you know, a horrible pacing. I think the worst pacing out of any arc. Actually, along with Thriller Bark, Skypiea and Thriller Bark, I think have the worst pacing of any arc. But that being said, I do think Skypiea is the funniest arc out of all of them. I thought this arc was hilarious. Zoro, Chopper especially, was absolutely hilarious. Nami was hilarious. There's something about this that was just really funny compared to all the others. Like, sure, some jokes here and there were funny, like, of course, with the Zoro posing in Little Garden. But Skypiea actually had me laughing, like, out loud. And that is really... That rain is really, really heavy, so you probably can't hear that. Apologies. I think overall, I do need to give it a rating. I think Skypiea is a B tier. I will actually have it below Little Garden. I will have it at the bottom of B tier. Like, it's enjoyable. Would I ever rewatch it? No. I would never rewatch Skypiea. But I had a good time with it in the second half mostly, and the comedy was there for me, so I'll give it a B tier. And now we move on to Long Land, which is a very controversial arc, and for good reason. It acts as sort of like a transitional sort of break, intermission arc, where the gang sort of get a break and do a bit of comedy. Like, people say this arc is really funny, but I did not laugh a single time during this arc. Skypiea was 1,000 times more funny than Long Land. Admittedly, when I did first watch Long Land, for the first time I was like, you know what, this isn't actually too bad. And then I realised that they're doing the whole thing again. And then that's where I sort of was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, this arc is bad. This arc is not enjoyable. So I think for that, it will be getting a D tier. And again, it offers nothing to the story as a whole. Foxy is one of the worst characters, if not the worst character, featured in the series. Yeah, just highly unenjoyable. Really not enjoyable. Luckily, I did actually get through all of this in one sitting. I watched all of it before I went to work one day, so I was able to check it off pretty easily. And like the final fight, I just think it's stupid. It's supposed to be stupid, but it's not even enjoyable stupid. It's just stupid. So, not my favourite arc. Okay, now we do get on to a fantastic arc, which is Water 7. I love the introduction to this arc. Just seeing Water 7, the Venice aesthetics, it really does sort of broaden the horizons for the world building and what to expect. And it sets great expectations. I think Water 7 is a fantastic arc. But you know, my favourite part about this is actually the conflict between Usopp and Luffy. I think one of the best character developments and character stories that One Piece has to offer. It is so good. And then, of course, the villains, mysterious, ominous, are some pacing problems. Granted, it's not as bad as like with Skypiea or Impel Down or Thriller Park, but yeah, still highly enjoyable. And then of course the stuff with Usopp and Mary, so good. The Storm as well, oh, fantastic arc, really good. But then we get to the arc that sort of outshines Water 7 just a little bit, and that is Enies Lobby, which I am just going to put up there. Just, it's a pretty obvious S tier. I think the majority of people would agree this is S tier. And, if I could, I would count Enies Lobby and Water 7 as just one massive arc, and it would all just go into S tier altogether. But yeah, Enies Lobby, man. At the start of Enies Lobby for the first 10 episodes, I was actually a little bit worried because I wasn't enjoying it for the first 10 episodes. Because the first 10 episodes is literally them charging to like the Judgment Court, and it just takes forever for the gang to actually reach Robin. Well, not to reach Robin, but to like see her and get to the courthouse. Oh my, it drags the first 10 episodes, so I was really worried. But everything after that is just so good. The fights, Robin's backstory, probably my favourite backstory. Robin saying, "I want to live," is so good. Usopp shooting down the flag, so good. And then with Mary at the end, who thought that a grown man would cry about a ship? I don't think I would, but I did. So yeah, the Mary farewell at the end, this just story perfection in my opinion. So good. And then the fight with Luffy and his name begins with an L. Lou something. I actually can't remember his name. That's really bad. I've seen spoilers that he is in Egghead Island, which is, tried to avoid as much as I could, but couldn't avoid that. I can't remember his name. I'm gonna get absolutely rinsed. Look, there's a lot to take in with One Piece, but all we need to know is that Enies Lobby is S tier, and then we have Post-Enies Lobby, which is one of these party sort of party arcs, and you sort of see how the arc beforehand affects the rest of the world. And I really do like these post sort of arcs. It gives us a lot of world building and development, and catches us up with quite a few of the other characters. So we catch up with Garp and Luffy. Garp telling Luffy about his dad, which is crazy. And yeah, the party itself is just fantastic. Really good, really enjoyable. I think again it's just an A tier, and again these three arcs do just feel like one big arc. And so if I could put all three of these together into like the Water 7 arc, it would all just go into S tier. But on its own, I do believe it's more than A tier. And yeah, I think at the bottom of A tier is pretty good. Yeah. Now we get on to Thriller Bark. I really do not like this arc. At the start, I thought it was pretty promising, but then you realise the whole arc is just the same thing of them running away from these scary monsters. Sorry, I just hit my cord. And it's become such a bore to watch, and the pacing, my god, this pacing is horrific. It is the worst pacing in all of One Piece. Sure, the ending is fantastic with Zoro, nothing happened, and the party afterwards, Binks, Booze. Is that what the song's called? The Brooks backstory, basically. That stuff is like S tier on its own, but two good moments can't make up for the rest of this arc, in my opinion. The rest of this arc is insufferable. I find a lot of it quite cringe, to be honest. The stuff with Sanji and Nami, and that character that can go invisible, it's so cringe, it's so unbearable. I think I remember actually fast forwarding like the fights between him and Sanji, just because it was so stupid and so annoying that it kind of made me have like a stays towards this arc. So, oh man, I would say D tier, but it does give us the end, so I guess the ending does bump it up a little bit. I think I am gonna have to put it at the top of C tier just because of the ending, and I did say the ending can't make up for the rest of the arc. I know. Oh, but this arc is so bad. It is really, really bad. Like, I was really looking forward to this arc. Like, the concept of it sounded really cool, but it just fell flat on its face. And you know, the introduction to Kuma is so cool, so badass. I do like Baratie. Baratie's a good character. Yeah, I do like her. She's funny. I like her laugh. I laugh as well. Gecko Mario is such a bad villain. So annoying. So incredibly annoying. I'm really struggling to place Thriller Bark because I'm so conflicted about it. Like I would rather watch Orangetown Syrup Village and probably Jaya over it. Because I do have to think about the arc as a whole. It is such an unnecessarily long arc as well. Okay, so I'm going to put it at the bottom of the C tier. At the bottom of the C tier. Yeah, I think that's where it's going to go. That's what I'm deciding. Anyways, enough of mid. We're going to go on to the best arc ever, and that is Sabaody Archipelago. Now, I think it's pronounced Sabaody. It could be pronounced Sabaody, but I don't actually know. I always struggled with pronouncing it, but this, in my opinion, is the best arc in all of One Piece. The world building, the characters, the story, the stakes, the action, it is so good. For me, this is One Piece perfection. It's quite a short and sweet arc as well. It's not like these really big arcs like Alabasta or Enies Lobby. It's quite a contained story, but it sets up so much more. It sets off the whole Summit War arc, basically. And I think that's why it's actually my favourite arc in the Summit War, just because of how much setup it does and like how good the payoff of all of it is, and the world building introducing us to the worst generation, seeing all the other pirates like Law and Kid, the Celestial Dragons as well. Luffy absolutely decking the Celestial Dragon. My second favourite moment in all of One Piece. The animation as well was just sublime. It's chef's kiss. Introduction to Rayleigh, the whole like slave selling thing. It really does just set the tone of this world and how just terrible these people are. And then the whole Kuma situation and Kizaru. Is that the Admiral? I kind of get confused with all of their name. No, I believe Kizaru is the light one. No. I don't know why I struggle with Admiral's name so much, but anyways, the introduction of the light fruit Admiral. Yeah, so cool. And then the whole Kuma situation with all of the robots. So good. I love this arc. It's so good. And then on to Amazon Lily. I actually don't mind this arc compared to a lot of other people. A lot of other people rank this like a D tier. I honestly think this is like B tier, like middle of B tier. I think this is a pretty solid and pretty enjoyable arc. Gives us a great introduction to Boa Hancock, and their story, and the whole island. I think is really interesting. The story behind it. Yeah, it's pretty short and sweet as well. The beginning isn't fantastic with like Luffy running away from everyone, but once it all settles down and he kind of gets into the arena fight with Boa Hancock's sisters, I think that's where the arc really does shine from that point onwards. So yeah, solid arc, not as bad as everyone says. Yeah, and I think it's a pretty good payoff afterwards. And now on to Impel Down. Now, this arc does have a fair bit of flaws. run away from people, run to and from the camera, and the pacing isn't brilliant, but I do really enjoy it. I really enjoy Impel Down. I think it's such a great arc with a fantastic cast of characters. Buggy, Mr. 3, Ivan, something, King of the Quiz. Really good character. Ivan, one of my favourite characters. I didn't realise how big of a part and role Ivan was going to play. I forgot what this guy is, the guy with the poison fruit. Fantastic villain. The comedy as well, I think there's one of the funnier arcs as well, kind of up there with Skypiea. It's quite a funny arc. It kind of knows how to balance the stakes and the comedy, which I really appreciate. We kind of get the comedy more so with Buggy and Mr. 3, and then more serious moments with Luffy. And again, it's one of those arcs where Luffy actually loses. He's quite literally on the brink of death, and so the stakes are there. The breakout is absolutely awesome. The introduction to Jinbei as well, the reintroduction of Crocodile. I think it's just a really fun arc. So yeah, quite high A tier for me personally. And now we have Marineford, one of the biggest arcs, not just in One Piece, but in anime and manga history. It is one of the most talked about arcs ever. Really highly regarded, highly respected, and yeah, I have a good reason. For me, it is in S tier as well. Oh, but where do I wanna? Okay, so here's gonna be an S tier, but is it gonna be? Oh, okay, this is tough, do I? Now, for me, the problem is I took a pretty large gap in watching One Piece during this arc. I know, crazy. As good as this arc was, I took the longest break that I've gone for watching One Piece. It was near a month, I want to say, without watching One Piece, slap bang in the middle of Marineford, which is crazy. So I do think that break did hinder my enjoyment, just slightly, ever so slightly. I felt like if I watched it in a lot more cohesion sitting, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But don't get me wrong, it's still such a great arc. The War of the Best. I'm kind of thinking now, should Enies Lobby go above Alabasta? I loved Alabasta, really did. Maybe Marineford above Enies Lobby. Oh, but then I think Robin's backstory, and it goes Sogeking as well. But there's so much world building, character development with this arc. I think actually I'm going to have to put Marineford second. It is such an amazing arc. The story development, the stakes, the loss, it just adds so much to the world of One Piece that you have to give it the respect, basically. So I think I am going to place Marineford as second best, just behind Sabaody Archipelago. For me, it's going to be hard to top Sabaody Archipelago. I just love that arc. It's just fantastic. And then post-war, again, this one is going to go in the A tier. I think we're just going to put it above post-war Enies Lobby. If it would actually want to move, there we are. We get a fantastic backstory with the three brothers, Luffy, Ace, and Sabo. Unfortunately, I do know Sabo is not dead, as much as they want you to believe it. He's not dead. The Great Terminal story does drag quite a bit, and it definitely could have been told in a lot less episodes, but still my enjoyment wasn't hindered nevertheless. And actually catching up with the rest of the Straw Hats was really nice after being separated from them for over 100 episodes. episodes. It was just fun, sort of them getting the news, and Luffy actually returning to Marineford was all really, really good. I'm actually thinking maybe it should go a little bit higher actually, because I didn't really enjoy it. No, I think maybe Baratie needs to come down a little bit. Yeah, you know what, Baratie is going to come down a little bit. I'm going to put it behind Arlong Park and post-war. As much as I said it was my favourite part in the show, I think it's more so because I really like Sanji in the live action. Not too hot on Sanji in the anime because of his stupid cringe obsession and with whatever. Terrible character. Not terrible character, but just that one bit about his character is just so annoying to me. It's not funny in the slightest. Yeah, you know what? I think this is looking pretty good to me. So there we have it. This is my ranking of all of the One Piece arcs. So at the bottom we have Long Ring, Long Land, Reverse Mountain, Whiskey Peak, Thriller Bark, Jaya, Syrup Village, Orange Town, Skypiea, Little Garden, Amazon Lily, Romance Dawn, Drum Island, Post-Enies Lobby, Baratie, Post-War, Arlong Park, Loguetown, Impel Down, Water 7, Enies Lobby, Alabasta, Marineford, and Sabaody Archipelago. So let me know what you think of this tier list. I'm sure some of you will say you've got this completely wrong. This should be here and that should be there, but that's the beauty of tier lists. We all have our own opinion, so make sure you drop your favourite arcs down below. I would absolutely love to see what your favourite arcs are. I'll start a little bit of a conversation about that discussion, because One Piece is just a fantastic series, and I cannot wait to see the rest of the arcs. But I've heard pretty bad things about Fisherman Island, so yeah, I'm not holding my breath out for that arc, and I've heard Punk Hazard can be a bit of a drag as well, but I've heard Dressrosa is good, but I also heard the pacing is really bad as well, so I really hope Post-Timeskip isn't, bad. I don't think it will be, but I've heard it has some issues, and I heard it's actually where a lot of people actually just start reading the manga instead of watching the anime, so who knows, maybe I'll do that. The whole plan was to catch up and then start reading the manga, but we'll see. So this video has been very, very long, so I'll let you guys get to sleep.